Um, Stranger Things for me. I watched the first two seasons, and then lost interest. For me, it's not that the content of the show pissed me off. It's not that the acting was horrible. It's not that the graphics sucked. It's none of that. It's just for me, my attention span to grasp on a show entirely. It's weird, I guess. I think that the first season of Stranger Things, I loved it. I would watch that again. But I felt that it had, I don't know, a beginning, middle, and end for me, with obviously a cliffhanger left up in the air because they weren't sure if the show would take off or not. I mean, that's what you get with like new shows is they do a season of like 6, 8 episodes and hope it takes. And then maybe with a follow up season, they add one or two more episodes to make that season count 10 or whatever. Gone are the days of shows being 20, 25 episodes other than sitcoms. It's just the way it is. I remember like X Files being, I think, 20, 25, 22 episodes in length each season. I don't think all of them were. But anyway, so I see a lot of people kind of like going, "Oh, the Stranger Things show's ruined now because of these plot points," which I'm not going to go over in case you're watching and you love the show. I don't care. For me, why this show didn't drag me in, I guess it's because parts of it kind of were borrowed from other things. Maybe I got kind of tired of the whole 80s nostalgia stuff because at that time, I mean, even now that it's like, nostalgia shoved down your throat and all that, right? I don't know. Like I caught my wife watches it. She watched through all the way through and she'll watch this new one as well. I think she's behind though, but I think she said she's gonna like start watching the newest bunch of episodes or whatever. So like I don't know what season it was, but I remember catching scenes of like the cop character in Russia, and there's like a creature there, and kind of like um, forgive me with the characters, but like the one character, I think it was Eddie or something, that was like a rock guy, and he kind of went out on a thing, you know. Sorry if I'm spoiling anything, but it's just I don't know. It didn't catch me. It didn't. And it's weird because shows like Dexter Resurrection and Welcome to Derry watched all the way through, and Welcome to Derry has got monsters in it. It's horror related. Um, but yeah, Stranger Things never grasped me. I really liked Winona Ryder in it. I thought, she's awesome. Like especially in that first season. I guess when I think about it, I think Stranger Things should have been one or two seasons, like a mini series. I think it would have worked for me personally better. Like you have season one, you have a cliffhanger, and then you wrap it up in season two. That's just my thoughts, right? I know a lot of people love the show. That's fair. It's got a good cast. It's got a good production value. That, like I said, that for me to be attached to the show, it just didn't do it for me. But I think if it was a mini 2 season arc, I think maybe I would have been more in tune to it. I mean, that maybe that's just me. um, it's kind of like I know I'm referring to It again, but it's kind of like the It miniseries in the '90s, where it was a movie mini arc, I think would have worked. Uh, but whatever. Um, it's just, yeah, like I said, with my attention to grasp onto a new show, it's, I guess, difficult to be impressed these days for me. Um, like I really love, like I'm not a huge cop show fan, but particular ones to catch my eye, like Castle with Nathan Fillion, really love that show, and I watched that all the way through a bunch of times. The Mentalist, I can't remember the actor's name, but that TV series I've watched through a bunch of times. I really like it because of the concept of a character with a kind of mental kind of different point of view coming at a case, and Castle with Nathan Fillion's character being a novelist writer with some law background, cocky at times, like, and the cast and the writing really helps, obviously, in either of those cases, right? Like those kind of shows, like, you know, a little intrigue, a little bit different kind of approach, I guess, at a genre, I suppose. I mean, that's kind of like what makes it interesting and grabs me a little bit. Like Dexter, I never got into until I watched Dexter Resurrection, only because of the plot line where that season dealt with Dexter kind of getting involved in this group of killers. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then with that, made me want to go back and watch the first 8 seasons of the original show, the original run. And I loved it. I mean, yes, season 8 was kind of rushed by its end, but still, it was an enjoyable run for me, enjoyable time. Because, again, of the difference there with Dexter being a killer, but going after specific people, like engaging them mentally, I guess. You know, interesting. Again, kind of a cop show, yeah, which is weird. Because there's just too many cop shows. Like even the Rookie with Nathan Fillion, I've like kind of fallen off of. I think the last season I watched of that was 4 or 5. I can't remember because it kind of like started to get run of the mill for me. Just I don't know. It didn't keep my interest. So that's where I just kind of wanted to kind of throw in my 2 cents here with Stranger Things. I kind of like I didn't really grasp onto this show. Um, I even tried to go back and kind of try and get into it, but I don't know, for whatever reason, it just bored me. But again, it's not the actors, it's not the writing, it's not the content. It's one of those shows where I'm like, you know. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to bring this up because I've seen a lot of people kind of like, upset with the current events of the current season, and I'm like, all right. I, as a fan, I've been there with shows or movies where it's good all the way through until like the very end, and then the very end, the ending or whatever, kind of blows up in your face. I felt that way with Captain America: Winter Soldier, where it had a decent run in that season, and then the bad guys in ending just made it crap at the end of it, and really made me not want to revisit that show because of that. It happens. I get it. Whatever people are feeling about this new iteration or new season of Stranger Things, like there's stuff that bugs them about it because it's like, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like it has this, shows have this thing where they go along and they keep people interested in everything, and then he dropped the ball at the kind of like the final end. It's kind of like The Mandalorian. Season one and two, there were nitpicks of it, but when I watched season three on for a couple episodes, that just ruined the show for me because they did a 360 on it. And that seems to be happening a lot. Okay. Now, I have not watched new stuff on Stranger Things, nor, there are people that love it and everything, and I don't want to take that enjoyment away from any of you. But I get when you're watching a show and for you personally, it does disappoint because they kind of turn the show on its head in some form or another. I get that. I've had that. Like Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Season one was awesome for me. But then season two came out. I was like, what the hell is this? Minus maybe one or two episodes. Now I have started to watch season three. It's better than season two, but it doesn't have the pull or feeling of season one, where it was like, it felt like a Star Trek show. And it's weird. I kind of like hope that they carry on with Shatner. Well, I mean Kirk and Spock and that crew, and do kind of a soft reboot of that. I would be on board with it only if it was like season one of Star Trek Stranger Worlds, where it was the exploratory part of it. Every episode is like a problem that they got to solve. That's what Star Trek is to me. That's why Stranger Worlds season one I really liked. And they brought the Gorn enemy forefront to a scary level, which was amazing. Like that, because if they did that for like Kirk, Spock, and that crew, which if I understand the timeline, that would lead into like the Klingon War and stuff. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I kind of am going back because I watched like all the old shows, obviously, and it's been a while. But I think it would be cool if they did like the Kirk Spock series soft reboot, sure. Because eventually Pike, the character Pike, will leave the Enterprise, but maybe because of all the events that have happened that have changed kind of like the timeline of the situation there. I mean, not saying that the eventual fate of Pike will revert itself from the original timeline. Like, who knows where they're going to go with that. But I think it's interesting. Actually, that's one of the aspects of Stranger Worlds that I really liked was the fact that the Pike's future is unknown, where his original fate in the original timeline is changed, and I'm like, cool. And I have to say that the actor that plays Spock in the new Stranger Worlds, I didn't like him when they were introduced him, but I liked him a lot more as the show's gone on. There are some nitpicks, yeah, especially with season two, because that season was a write off for me. But like I said, season three is better than season two. But the first season just it works. So they have two more seasons of Strange New Worlds coming. The fifth season they said is going to be shortened, and we'll see what they do with, if they come up with the Kirk rebooted series and what happens there. I hope to God that Star Trek gets back to its original exploratory, fun ways instead of this dark, you know, brooding universe that they've created with the Kurtzman stuff. I think that's his name, Kurtzman, who's running the all the Star Trek stuff for a long time. Because unlike Star Wars, I have hope held out for Star Trek, and I know it's been very disappointing. I mean, Picard season 1 and 2 were shit. I know I'm totally off topic with this video here, but I'm passionate about certain products. Like I love Star Trek before I fell in love with Star Wars, like the original one, because I love Star Trek in the fact that like at the time the characters, the writing, the intrigue, the mystery, the exploratory notion of those old series, like even Voyager. Like Voyager wasn't my favorite, but I've gone back and watched Voyager this past year, and I have to say I was wrong. It's not a great show, but it's still Star Trek, and the characters are neat. Like I have to give them credit. Like I originally didn't like the run, and now I'm like, oh, it's not bad. It's okay. Star Trek Deep Space Nine was really amazing. Star Trek TNG is my all-time favorite Star Trek show with Picard and that crew. And then obviously the very original run of Star Trek is nostalgic. It's funny and kooky in some of the episodes, but you have to look at it at the time it was made and the kind of innovation they did with the effects and all. So movies aside, the Star Trek movies are kind of like hit and miss. For as far as the show goes, I really do hope that Star Trek gets back to its original feel and Roddenberry's vision. I yeah, hold on to hope for that to happen. Um, anyway, I know I just went off topic there, like by 500 degrees, but it's that's the thing. I do get passionate about TV shows. I'm not really talking about movies here right now, but like for TV shows to grab me, it has to have elements in there that I'm like, cool, like I'm into it. Like I'm very interested in the new Stargate show, and I hope it does really well because Stargate for me, like, is amazing, amazing concept. Like Stargate Universe sucked, unfortunately, and then they had I think a fan movie or a Stargate movie years ago that tried to interject um, feeling back into the fans of Stargate, but it didn't work. And now we're getting a new TV show that's going to be, I think, on either Prime or FX. I'm not sure. And I hope it's going to be good because we need that. And I think this year has proven that TV shows are gaining momentum, at least for myself, a little bit of momentum over movies. Because if the one group unison and is doing the project, all the actors, all the same producers, all the kind of like the same crew doing one show, one season, and it's done well. It shows. Like Dexter Resurrection felt like a unit, did that whole entire show. Welcome to Derry. I know for a fact that it was like the people that did the movies, chapter 1 and chapter 2, that did that entire season. I think there was like a couple episodes that were like written by someone else, but still, it felt like it was a group effort. That's when TV shows are out of hype and they can have a year hiatus to cook for the next season. And I'm fine with that. Take a year off. Let us, salivate and soak in that last season of the show, like Welcome to Derry or Dexter Resurrection, which just got announced of a season 2 of Dexter Resurrection that Michael C. Hall, I think that's his actor's name, actually said, yeah, it's a go. Awesome. So I think in that rate, TV shows are gaining momentum and production value is going to be high. But if it's done well, you're going to have more attraction to those shows. And I gotta say, for Stranger Things, even though I've only watched the first two seasons, I get it. Like, I get the appeal. I do. It's a show that didn't pull me in. Um, like these production values, if they're done right and they have good actors and you have good writing and all that, they'll hook in people over Hollywood. And I think that's great because movies, unfortunately, have fallen off the pan like the last while, last like 5 years, 10 years, whatever you want to say. They've had the odd picks that have come out that have been good, that have been surprising, and each their own and their own opinion, of course, on that. But I think movies have just they're rushed. They're if they're corporate controlled, they're interfered with so that the creators of the movie of the product cannot fully express their vision of the movie, okay? Especially anything with Disney. Yes, I'm throwing them under the bus. Because Disney is a big example of corporate interference, I think, on all their shit. And it's disgusting. And it shows. When these franchises like Marvel and Star Wars, and I'm going on a rant here, that could be so much better than they currently are. And for fuck's sakes, can you imagine if they had an inkling of care in the Star Wars franchise on all the stories and lore that they could put together and tell with their kind of money and if they got if they let the writers write, if they let the creators create. And from what I've seen, it hasn't happened. They've messed up a lot of old OG characters for whatever their reason is. And I'm looking at Kathleen Kennedy for this, but it's not just her, it's the whole entire corporation of Disney. That's the problem at this point. Again, there are people that like this shit. Fair enough. I don't. A lot of people don't. Because to them, and to me, it feels like Star Wars is a checkbox marked corporate design for everything that comes out with Star Wars. Will it change? I don't know. I am looking forward to the Darth Maul animated show. Uh, I think it's just called Maul because it's possible they're going to tell the point in time after Clone Wars to, I think, Rebels what happened there. And I'm cool with that. If it's done by Dave Filoni and his animated crew that did Rebels and Clone Wars, and it's done well. Cool. Like I'll watch the first two episodes will give an indication on where that's going. I haven't watched the Bad Batch, so I can't say anything about it. I've heard mixed things on it, but whatever. But anyway, I know I'm ranting, getting off topic like a couple times in this video, but again, I'm passionate about projects and I want them to succeed, right? I don't want them to fail. I want them to live on. And it's I can't speak really for Stranger Things, but when you have a long running show and the final season kind of like shits the bed, pissing the fans off, it's a real shame. Okay, now again, I it's from what I see on my dashboard, what I read about reviews of the current Stranger Things season or multiple season. I don't know how they're doing this, but it sucks if that does happen because yeah, I've been there with products that have gone along really well, and then kind of by the end they kind of mess it up, and it goes in a strange direction. There's been plenty of TV shows in the past that have done that, and it's kind of like, why? Why did you go there? Why? You know, but it happens for whatever reason. But like I said, when a whole team does an entire run of a show, you do feel it. You do feel the passion. You do feel the charm. You do feel the writing because everybody in a collective has brought together a wonderful series or show. And last thing I'll say is that's why Marvel worked. Infinite pre and was it pre Infinity War? Is that how you say it? Pre Infinity War, like all the movies, but they weren't all perfect, but they felt like a timeline like set up by a group of people to culminate into that Infinity War, that Thanos movie. And then after that, it felt like entirely different groups took over without a direction. Like Captain Marvel's hinted on the Skrulls. They had the Secret Invasions TV show, which shit the bed on that idea. They had Kang the Conqueror, set up by the Loki show, which sucked ass. Didn't work. They were going to do Secret Wars, but they're kind of hinting at doing it now. And they have Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom, who has not been set up properly by a bunch of movies to earn that Doomsday movie. I'm sorry, it doesn't. And him cast as Doctor Doom, they could have had anyone. Like, no direction with the MCU, none. Since Captain Marvel, in my opinion, excluding X Men, or not X Men, Deadpool and Spider Man, excluding those films, the main MCU timeline, Captain Marvel onward, has been garbage, in my opinion, because it felt like every movie they just they have a little bit of ideas, but then they're not executed properly. And you know what's a shame is that I think Anthony Mackie, the actor that plays the new Captain America, I think he's fine, and he was probably the best part of Brave New World. But Brave New World sucked. The plot was stupid. The actors around didn't help, and all you have that movie for is a stupid Red Hulk fight. It's meaningless. So, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and he just watched Thunderbolts, and he agreed with me that like the main hero cast in there was a joke. None of them are likable. And the resolve of the Sentry character in that film was a joke as well, where you have the heroes facing a almost unkillable or unstoppable force, one of the most unstoppable forces in all of Marvel Comics. And in the comics, they resolve it in a proper way, but in the movie, they lazy it out. So, you know, I know this has been a elongated video of me kind of jumping over the place, but again, like I'd like to reiterate that I'm passionate for projects, and I want them to succeed, but like when they constantly disappoint, there's no reason to go back and revisit the product like Star Wars, like Marvel. I just don't care about those two products at all. Um, Minus the Mall animated show, which I have some interest in, not only because I like the character, but if it's Dave Filoni's crew and the animation and all that, okay, I'll give it that. But the live stuff for Star Wars, I'm dead. It's dead to me. Uh, Same with the MCU. It's dead to me. I really don't care because they've disappointed too much that it's just redundant to see. Um, there's no doubt that these products on Disney's side make money. I mean, they somehow always seem to make money. But for me personally, it's just like I'm not there to watch corporate movies anymore, or corporate show driven shows, because it's felt, it's seen. So at least the positive through all this is we're getting better shows from other companies that that do show us that there is hope for TV, that we can have good written shows. And yeah, keep going on here. One last thing is Alien Earth could have been a rare occasion where Disney made a good show, because the first couple episodes of Alien Earth I did like up to season or episode 5. Then it became like a 360 and like, what the hell am I watching? But they've done that with almost all, or well, every show. But again, there is hope for other, TV shows, other series to come out that can grab our attention and different genres and impress us and get a talk and get a buzz going on. So Stranger Things, you know, I don't have plans to watch or anything again. It's just not interested, but it had a good run from what I've seen. And I really liked the first season. And I think, again, if it was a mini series, I'd probably, you know, like it more. But it is what it is. But it had its run, and from like clips and stuff that I've seen, you know, there are moments for sure. Um, what I think it's called, they're the Duffer Brothers. What will the Duffer Brothers, makers of the show, do next? Who knows, right? Maybe they'll have another sci-fi show after this. But Stranger Things, I think the final episodes is like coming up January, if I'm not mistaken. And the finale, it'd be interesting to see what people say about it. But yeah, that's my elongated video there. Kind of jumping all over the place about TV and all. But we're all passionate towards various shows, various movies, right? And we all like and dislike our own stuff. But that's what's great about it. And that's kind of like the debate and opinions. It's good to have that, but it's not good when people try and force people to watch stuff when they're not interested in watching stuff. That's kind of where I draw the line, and that's how tried to happen a lot in Hollywood, especially Hollywood, where they're bad product is the people are trying to push people to watch it, and if you don't watch it, you're this and that. That is a big issue. Okay, it's fine to have different opinions on different things and kind of like have a peaceful, you know, talk about it or debate about it. Cool with your friends or whatever. But I find like, and this is honestly, the last thing I'm going to say here is I'll go into another tangent. I think the internet is at fault for a lot of hate towards a lot of things. And in some aspects, yes, hate is granted. But in other aspects, especially when it comes to entertainment, it's too high or too much. And I think, especially with YouTube and things, social media, it's like terrible, terrible, terrible comments. And YouTubers that I've watched uh, agree that social media is a cancer in some ways towards life, towards people, but it doesn't have to be. When people respect people, there are things that I don't like Star Wars. Like, I don't like the Star Wars stuff, but there are people that like the new Star Wars stuff. Fair enough. I'm not forcing people to dislike something because I don't like it. I don't do that. My reviews are just what I think about it. If you like something that I don't, cool. I'm not bothered by it. Why would I deprive someone of enjoyment and entertainment when they like something that I don't? I'm not. I don't do that. Anyway, I'm gonna stop before I can talk about this stuff all day. But yeah, let me know in the comments. Of all the stuff that I've said in this video, like. What's your favorite Star Trek series? What's your favorite season of Stranger Things? Anything like that. Give a like and subscribe. And any new viewers on this, and coming up on New Year's, and I want to say Happy New Year to all my subscribers. And again, hope you had a really good Merry Christmas and holiday there. And we're heading into 2026 now. And the sky's the limit for entertainment, I suppose. It's going to be very interesting for TV next year. Movies, I'm kind of like, there isn't really a movie. Maybe, yeah, Project Hail Mary is probably the movie I'm thinking of. I really want to see for next year at this point because it's done by the same people who did The Martian, and I watched the hell out of The Martian. Love that movie. But yeah, happy New Year to everybody out there, and I'm gonna be probably posting a couple more Clone Hero videos, and you might get some new ones I do coming in the new season or new year, I should say. Getting back to making the songs, because all the songs that I've been posting have been songs that I've made a while ago, and there's still a lot of songs that I want to do, but it takes so much time to do them. It takes like an hour to do a song with the lyrics and the notes. Rap takes an hour and a half because when I'm doing lyrics for rap, it's a pain in the butt because it's especially with like rappers that go da 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 da, da, and I have to like really fine tune the lyrics as best I can. But there's a hint for you there that some new songs will be coming up, and I just don't mean like old songs. I mean, I'm gonna still be doing old songs, but I'm gonna be looking on any new songs that come up by certain artists there, especially country, because country is really the only genre right now that there's a bunch of artists there that I think are coming out with some new albums in the coming year. But not only them, like if say Blink 182 or The Weekend comes up on any new stuff, I'll be looking at that as well. And I have to look at the 2026 album list to see who's got albums coming out this year. Because there's certain artists I'd be interested in. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.